Hi. Over 10 years ago, as I graduated, I had dreams in my heart and a burning desire to change the world. But first things first, I had to get a job. With no money in my pocket and no financial support, I desperately wanted a job. Boomtown Bangalore did not have any jobs, as those were a couple of really bad years in IT. Um, Boomtown, so I moved back home to Kolkata. Kolkata did not have much for me either. That's when Saurav called me, and Saurav was in the room. He he can testify for this. He called me and said, Ritesh, we have big plans for ID solutions. Why don't you come over? We'll discuss and you can market to all of Eastern India. There's a lot of opportunity. So I took the train to Delhi and we sat down and we had a conversation over some beers. The next morning I literally missed my train because you know what happens when you mix beers and boys, right? So that happened to us. So somehow I managed my way back to Kolkata, and I had my share of experiences traveling ticketless, sometimes even standing in a 2 day journey and sleeping any place I could, literally. And if you've traveled in the sleeper class of the Indian train, you can imagine what I'm talking about. So, and between staying in Bangalore and shuttling to Kolkata, I'd done that a few times. In Kolkata, I tried to set myself up. I borrowed a cell phone from Rohit, and I was trying to become this business guy and everything. And as soon as I borrow it from Rohit, in a few days, it gets pickpocketed from my pocket. And uh, I'm not sure if you know how it feels, but you know how it feels when you lose a cell phone, right? But imagine you've borrowed a cell phone from someone, and that's your channel to the world to set up your business, and that got pickpocketed. So, I want to change the world. Yeah, I was 21, but I was struggling to make my first rupee. In all of this, I got a call from Wipro Technologies, and they asked me to join Wipro in Pune. So it was a very difficult decision, but nevertheless, I thought, okay, let's give it a try. I packed my bags again and moved to Pune. And these IT companies, they usually hire people in batches, and my batch had about 17 people. So on day one, everybody had to show up and sign some documentation. Everybody in that room came with their parents or guardians. I was the only one who showed up by himself, and well, that's how I was already set up because I'd been in Bangalore, and when I moved to Bangalore, I was 18, and I set up everything for myself. And of course, mom and dad wanted to visit me, but it never did work out for them. So here I was, I went to the corporate office, I started learning a lot of technology, business, meeting new people, making new friends. And so there I started working with a company called Charles Schwab in America. So the company was an American company in America, but they had offshored some of their business. And I started talking to them, and one day I was and we call these on-site offshore calls, and I was talking to this American Californian over the phone, and I had to take a late night call because it's morning in America. And so there's a lot of barking in the background, dog barking. And he asked me, Ritesh, do you have a pet at home? I was like, no, there's a lot of stray dogs on the road. So I think that was globalization for him, for the American guy. And starting to work for an American company from India was globalization for me. And yeah. So, and once I changed jobs. I started working for an Israeli company in Pune again, and they gave me an opportunity. They said, Ritesh, why don't you go to America and work in AT&T? And AT&T was one of their clients. So I traveled to America, and really I don't know what I have to do in America. All I've been told is that there's a team there. I have to work with the team. There's going to be some programming required, etc., etc. And so I take the flight, and I'm extremely happy. This is right after Rohit's wedding. And I'm so excited about moving to America. I just want to get there, and I take the flight, and uh, there's another story I think of when I talk about all this, but I'll save it for some other time. So when I take the flight to America, en route I have a transit in Paris, and I get stuck in Paris because there's a big snowstorm in America, in New York, and So I'm just sitting in Paris, and we don't know what to do. There's a lot of chaos at the airport, lots of flights cancelled, and I just wait the whole day at the airport. So tired. There's no food. They're not giving us food. I'm not sure if I should spend my money buy food. Everything is in euros. I don't understand. It looks so expensive. And at the end of the day, they took away our passports and gave us a one-day visa. It was almost like being in a hosted situation, and so they gave us a hotel room. They were kind enough to give us a hotel room. So I check into the hotel at 12, and I'm so excited. I want to go out and see Paris. I want to see Paris, and everybody else, other people from the flight, they're like, no, that's not a good idea. Paris is not safe. It's a big city. Stay back. You can go tomorrow morning. Next day morning at 5:30, I book a cab and I go see Eiffel Tower. And I began seeing the world, and that was the first place I ever went to outside of India. I was extremely excited about this. This was it was tough to say it was a dream come true, or I was still in a difficult situation. I hadn't informed my family. You can imagine my mom fretting, oh, where is my son? Oh, he's left India. I don't know where he is. And so the next day I reach America, and I reach America at 12 in the night, and it's very cold outside. It's the coldest I've ever been to. And I collect my luggage, and I see this gentleman who's very friendly at the airport, and he greets me, and I'm like, why is he talking to us? I'm not expecting anybody at the airport, right? He's an Indian looking guy, and so because he's Indian looking, and I'm so tired, I don't know where to go, what to do. He starts talking to me in Hindi, and I start talking back to him, and I eventually find out he's actually a taxi driver trying to find a guest for a ride so he can make some money, and he tells me that he's a Paki. What? Wait? Really? A Paki? One thing is, how did he ever get to America? The other thing is, why am I meeting him? Why is he the first person I meet in America? And so I have no other options. I don't know much. I don't know where to go in the cold. It's 12 in the night. And so I decide, okay, I'll go take his taxi, take a ride to wherever I have to go. And he puts all my stuff in his trunk, and I sit in the taxi, and being the smart aleck that I was then, I ask him how much the fare was, and I want to settle this before we start the journey, right? So he says $300. I'm like, $300? That's a lot of money. And I'm not sure, I'm not even sure how far this is, if I should pay you so much. And in a very earnest tone, he said, okay, if you don't trust me, step out, talk to another taxi driver, and then we can decide on what the right fare is. So I step out, and I see a lot of snow. So I have to get to the other taxi, right? I have to walk a little walkway, and I have to get to the other side. I see a lot of snow, and this is the first time I'm seeing snow. I have no clue what to expect, and I step on it as though I was just stepping on concrete, and try to walk to the other side. And my leg goes into the snow, and I'm literally drenched, wet, from my foot to the knee. And I decide to step back in, and I tell my friend, and now by this time this guy is my friend. I tell him, okay, let's just go wherever you have to take me. And luckily he was a very nice guy. He took me first to an Indian store to buy samosas. So middle of the night snack was samosas. And so I make my first Paki friend. So in America, right, we had a lot of very varied experiences, and first thing, I get to the AT&T office where I'm supposed to work, and I'm met by a lady who tells me that I was actually needed 2 months back, and now there's not as much work, and that's how much time the corporates take in getting things mobilized and flying a person from India to America. And she tells me that because I'm there, I may as well help her with something, and maybe do some data entry work that she does. And so I start doing this data entry work for a day, for 2 days, and I'm like, this is not what I do, data entry. And on day 3, I go ahead and create a software to automate the whole process. And this woman is so surprised. She's really surprised, and she's not sure if to be happy or to be sad. We ended up being friends later, but she wasn't happy. She was confused because she didn't know if to be happy that her work got done in an hour now. This work used to take 8 hours, or to be sad that there wasn't enough work for her to prove her worth in the company, right? And so, and time moves on. That year I got another opportunity to fly to America, and I'm just gonna move this flash forward, and So I moved to Kolkata, get married to Ritu, and we get another opportunity to move to America. This time we moved to Boston, and with two young souls trying to make the most of our lives, and just so excited to be in America, living the American life, right? So as soon as we land there, remember this friend of mine, or the woman I worked with, who eventually became my friend, and so she is in the town in Boston to get her daughter admitted to a college, and I decided to take her out for dinner. And so far, I had never been out for a formal dinner in America. We went to a Thai restaurant. We had some good dinner, and it was a $60 bill, and I want to pay for her, so just to show my gratitude, right? And I pay the bill, and because it was $60 and it was so much money, and I was just trying to understand the dollar and everything, I decided not to give a tip, and which was just okay, right? Because back home in India, we were not used to giving tips when we stepped out for a meal with friends, and if we went out with elders, of course they had to pay, and I had no clue if to pay a tip, how much to pay a tip. I did not pay a tip, and I stepped out, and the waitress actually came running behind me and said, "Why didn't you leave a tip?" And I was so embarrassed because there was this American friend of ours, and there was Ritu next to me, and I was so embarrassed. I just took out like a $10 note and I gave it to her, and I want to get away from there as soon as we could. So, yeah, some experience. And so we did a lot of fun things in Boston because Boston was a cold place. We started we started doing ice skating, and Ritu had done some skating at school. I had never done skating in my life. So we did skating, and I kept falling, and I must have fallen like 20 times before I gave up for that day. And I still do some skating, roller skating, ice skating, but luckily I don't fall as much. Uh, yeah. So yeah, but what's happened is since then, right? We saw a lot of America. We went to distant places. We learned a lot about American culture, about America as such. But I'm gonna tell a little more about that eventually. So what happened was just as soon as we decided to go to America, we decided to move back. And this is after 3 years of being in America. One day me and Ritu were just talking, and we say, okay, you know what, let's just move back. Dia is young. She'll be with some family, so we just moved back. And we moved back, we have some good times. We attend a few weddings, Ananya's wedding. We go see Rajasthan. We live in Kolkata again, unfortunately. And in a year from there, right, I get this opportunity of going to Singapore. So without blinking an eyelid, I take the flight. I move to Singapore, and I love being in Singapore. We love being in Singapore, and it's just such a beautiful place. The government there is doing so much good things for the people, but the people there, we thought that they were a little cold. The Singaporeans, mostly the Chinese origin people, for that matter, even the Tamil origin people, they're a little cold as compared to the Americans or the Indians. The Americans are willing to listen to us, listen to anybody who talks to them, and willing to change their ways for the better. But the Singaporean, once they've made up their mind, right, they will not budge. And that was as close. Also, it was as close to being in China as we could, and we saw some of the crazy food they eat. All kinds of different meats, and some crazy fruits, and and Rohit and Monovi, I know what I'm talking about. And so we decide to move on, and I'm trying to convince Ritu to move to a third country, a new country where we can go explore again. And she's trying to convince me to move back to America because that's what she likes, and she was comfortable in America. And so she wins, and we just moved back to America, and I'm in Dallas, Texas now. We are learning about a new America, a new part of America, a new culture within America. And believe me, not everything that we see in TV is true about America. Not every city is New York. There's still a lot of country culture in America. People are very nice, they're very polite. They would stop by, say hi to you. Even it doesn't matter if you know them or not, and they're gonna ask you how you are. And it's just such a lovely culture, such lovely people. They're very family oriented also. A lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them. And They are, some of them are actually very deeply religious. Unlike us, for us now religion is becoming more of more of an option. But some Americans are very cultural. They will go to their church at every Sunday morning 10 a.m. And the one thing that's pretty cool is that just like we have Bangladeshis cross the border and walk into India, there are Mexicans who just walk across the border and get into America. Yes, it happens in America also. And in fact, the Spanish, right, Mexican Spanish is probably the second language in America. It's widely spoken. And we've had our share of globalization, and we've learned a few cultures, few different ways of life, and so far it's been really good. We're still in a journey. Hopefully this will be a nice long journey. I intend to do a lot of new things in my career. I wanted to share a lot more with you, but given the time constraint, I want to talk to you about what I do as a software programmer in IT. But I think I'll just save it for another day. With that, I sign off, and thank you, Mama, for giving us this opportunity, an opportunity to reflect on what we do, who we are, and share it with our closest friends and cousins. And I know that some of you knew some of these things about me in parts, but I think I just love retelling everything about these last 10 years, in the given time that I had. Thank you.